Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Beth with Create with Beth, and today is another video in my beginning card making series. Today we're going to be talking about embossing and die cutting with a die cutting machine. Now this is something that isn't really absolutely necessary for card making. You do not need to have a die cutting machine. It kind of falls into the category of something you might want to eventually get. But as a beginner, you absolutely don't need to have this in order to create beautiful cards. It's just something that, some people like to get. You might want to get it. You probably will want to get one at some point down the line. So I'm just going to go over a little bit about how to use the machines, a couple different styles, and all the ins and outs of that. This might be a little bit longer video because I am going to cover in both embossing and die cutting. So sit back and settle in and see what I have to offer. So there are different types of die cutting machines. There are electronic machines, which are nice but are very, 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 very expensive. So you might want to invest in a manual machine. I have a manual machine. This is my large die cutting machine. This is from Spellbinders. It's the Platinum 6. I happen to like it. It comes compact like this, and then you unfold the sides like this. And let me turn it the other way actually. It has a crank that you crank your items through to die cut or emboss, and then when you're done, you just fold it back up and store it. So it's very convenient, and it's a good solid machine. A lot of different companies have a form of this at different prices. Again, some are going to be super expensive, some are going to be less expensive. So definitely shop around, do your research, and try to find what would work best for you. And the other thing that comes with the machine, I should have gotten them out in preparation for this video, is you get a variety of plates that come with the machine. And I'm going to explain how all of these work when we get into the demonstration. Now, another type of machine that you can get that you might want to have in your stash is the mini die cutting machine. This happens to be from Stampin' Up. It acts in the same exact way, but it's just on a miniature version, and you can only cut things that are about 3 inches wide. Again, totally not necessary to have this in your stash. It's just something you might want to have. It takes up less room on your desk, and sometimes you're just cutting little tiny things and embossing little tiny things, and so you might want to have something like this. But that's just one option. But we're going to go back to the big machine, and I'm going to demonstrate embossing first. So we'll go ahead and open this up so you can see this. And I'm going to get out a couple different embossing folders. So here are the different types of embossing folders, and I actually don't have a standard folder. This one looks like it could be a standard folder, but I think it's a little bit thicker. It's almost close to a 3D. Standard folders are going to be really super, super thin, and you're not going to probably have any trouble getting them through your machine with the directions that are on your plate. Now, the thicker ones, you are going to have a little bit of trouble. And so I have done some research on my own and came up with what we call the perfect sandwich to run through this machine. So I'll explain that in just a second. You have your plates that come with the machine, and there are different ones here. The platform base is the one that goes on the bottom of your sandwich. Then you have a platform top, and that's going to go next. And then you have different plates depending on whether you're embossing or you are cutting. So we're going to go into that in a second. Now, on your platform base, it actually has the directions for what to do to build your sandwich for cutting an embossing a cut shape, for using a standard embossing folder and a 3D embossing folder. Now the only problem, like I mentioned before, is the directions for using for embossing a 3D folder sandwich on this particular machine do not work. It does not work. I don't know why, it just doesn't. And so these are notorious for having to come up with your own little sandwich. So I'm going to show you the sandwich that works for me. So my particular sandwich for my particular machine involves using the platform base A, the platform top B. Then you're going to take your embossing folder and you're going to take your cardstock and you're going to slip that inside your embossing folder, just like so. We're going to put that down. We're going to use the matte E. Stick that on there like that. Then I'm going to use 2 pieces of thick cardstock. This is about 100-pound cardstock, and that acts as a shim to help provide the right pressure. And then all you're going to do is you're going to kind of give it a little push, and then you're going to crank this through your machine. Oops, and I totally bent my paper there. Don't do that. We're going to crank this through the machine just like this. And then when it comes out, you're going to end up with a perfectly embossed piece of cardstock that you can use as a background for your card. So this is what embossing is. This is how it's done. And it's a great little way to add detail to your card without having to ink or anything like that. It really makes a really pretty background. There are many different embossing folders out there. It's great to add them to your collection. They're not very expensive, which is nice. And let's see, let me show you a 3D embossing folder. So a 3D embossing folder is going to be a little bit thicker, quite a bit thicker actually, and it works much in the same way, running it through your die cut machine with the perfect sandwich that you come up with through trial and error. Again, my sandwich might not work for your machine. You might have to play around with different pieces of cardstock to see what works for your particular machine. But yeah, these are great too. They just happen to be thicker and they're a little bit harder to get through your machine, but you don't have to use a 3D. You can buy the standard. So that is how we emboss. Now I'm going to show you how we die cut. So to die cut, if we look at the directions on our machine, it's going to tell you again how to do your sandwich. You're going to start with your platform base. You're going to add your platform top. You're going to add a cutting plate C. Now, I don't want to alarm you. When you look at this plate, you're going to see all these cuts on here, and it might look like it's going to break any minute now. You will get cuts into your cutting plate. That's just how it works, and it does not affect the plate. It's not going to fall apart. It's not going to cut. These will last you for a really super long time. So we're going to put the cutting plate down. Then you're going to take your cardstock, and let me find, we'll use this die cut. So die cuts are metal pieces like this, where you can cut out images from your cardstock. You can, a lot of times, you stamp your image, you color it, and then you take a die cut and cut it out. And so this is what this is. So to do that, you're going to lay your cardstock down. You're going to put your die cut down. Then you're going to take your second C plate and lay that on top, just like this. Give it a little push till you feel the resistance. Then you're going to crank it through. You're going to hold on to the top like this for leverage. And it's just going to go through like that. Pop out the other end. And now you have a perfectly die cut image to put on your card. And that is how die cutting and embossing works. I hope this answers some of your questions that you might have on how to die cut and emboss. And like I said, do your research. Find a really good price. Don't forget, eBay often has some great deals. You just want to make sure that you're getting your plates with the machine, because you can't do much if you don't have your plates. So I hope this answers a lot of your questions. If you have any other questions, you feel free to put them in the comments and I'll be glad to answer them. Stay tuned for one more video in this series, actually 2 more. And yeah, I hope you'll go back and check out the other videos that I've made in this series. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Bye.